In this video, I'm going to talk about program implementation from the point of view of current needs and current capacity, not the ones in the paper, not the ones in the original proposal. Yeah? So, and then from that, you should have your current planning, right? The problem that happens when we try to implement what's in the proposal or plan according to what's in the proposal rather than what's on the ground is we get into problems, right? Because we're not implementing to current realities. The reason for this is, as most of us will know, often needs assessments aren't done correctly because there's not enough time or there's not enough staff or whatever, or design isn't done properly for the same reason, or either not enough people who know what they're doing in the design, or sometimes there could be too many people. You know, the old saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. So sometimes it's too many people. And then when it comes to implementing, if the needs assessment wasn't done properly and the design wasn't done properly, then the implementation will obviously fall into problems. Also, another problem that happens is that the program implementation starts sometimes very far after the needs assessment was done, right? And it's not just that. It's not just the distance in time between needs assessment done maybe 2 to 3 months ago and then the implementation start. It's the not thinking that needs are changing all of the time. Yeah, that doesn't mean there are drastic changes, but there are always changes, right? Because either needs change because the operating environment or the contextual factors exacerbate or improve needs, or other agencies or whatever the reason. But it would be weird, to use a word, that needs are fixed or static in time. They're not. And neither is capacity, right? So capacity is not fixed either. Sometimes we think of capacity as being quantifiable, no? As in numbers, right? If you look at a given program and we talk about capacity, sometimes what we're referring to is the number of staff that we've been allocated, the budget we've been allocated, i.e. the amount of money, the amount of resources, rather than the capacity of the capacity, if you want to look at it like that, right? So what is the capacity of the capacity? And the way to do that is and we need to do this because we need to always be establishing, okay, needs versus current capacity and all the other things that affect that, right? So when we look at capacity, internal capacity, we need to look at staffing, obviously. But often, as I said before, that's looked at in terms of, okay, how many staff do I have? And are they here? Do I have them? Have they been recruited? Have they been sent? Whatever. Okay? But that's kind of, to my view, not the right way to look at it as a program manager or a project coordinator, because no two staff are the same, right? Everybody has different strengths, everybody has different weaknesses, or different areas of improvement, to use the more evolved term. So you need to be looking at your real capacity, not your numerical capacity. And that means looking at it in terms as well through the lens of your current needs, the current needs of the people that you're trying to help, and the current problems that you have, right? So you will have to look at the individual in terms of capacity analysis, and then aggregate the individual per need, right? Because there's no point in going, okay, I'm going to analyze the capacity of all my staff, and I have 15 staff in my program. And I go through, okay, John, he's good at this and he's bad at this, and Mary's good at this. That's going to help. It has to be contextualized to both needs and problems. Now, the ability to serve needs, the ability to solve problems, which we call resolution capacity. Then Once you've done that, which isn't easy, but I will provide a way of doing that for you to make it easier, you need to look at supply chain, because without things, you can't do anything, right? You might have people, and I've been in many situations where I've had the staff, but I haven't had the things, and they haven't had the things they need to do their job. Okay, so again, you know, we talk a lot about sometimes in big programs, where orders, international orders are necessary, or big orders are necessary, and it's hard to get them. And especially in current times with the global supply chain the way it is, I mean, it's a lot of shortages of raw materials, shortages of plastics even. Many things are higher priced and not available, right? So you always have to be looking as a program manager at supply chain, right? Both local and international and national, right? Because it's not about I've made the order and now it's not my problem anymore. No, as a program manager or a program component supervisor or whatever, you have to be analyzing the capacity of whether you have what you need to carry out to meet needs, basically, yeah, at any given time. And you need to have plan Bs in place. So that's another part of capacity that you need to analyze, because if the things aren't there, getting frustrated about it isn't going to help. You need to think out of the box. I hate that sentence, but you do need to think about creative solutions to not using the ideal, but figuring out another way to do the same thing. Sometimes there won't be one, right? And then you'll have to adapt. There will always be problems, yeah. Problems with staffing, problems with logistics, but there will also be problems that are coming from other internal parts of your project, other programs that are having more of a prioritization and are pulling support departments away from your program to theirs, so you have to analyze that as well. What is the capacity of the support people to give the support that you need to your program? Are they being prioritized to do something else? What is that looking like at the moment? And then, as I said, you need to be able to analyze current problems and forecast potential future problems and measure up your capacity to resolve both. Okay, so, and this is like, okay, you will know obviously what your current problems are, and you will know what your current capacity to solve those problems is. And all of this needs to be like kind of not just a quick meeting of an hour with your team. This needs to be done properly. And it's the backbone of program implementation is doing this constant capacity to needs, capacity to resolve problems analysis. Yeah, and you will need to take measures to mitigate, but also sometimes you will have surplus capacity, excess capacity, right? Because maybe you have people waiting around for stuff that hasn't arrived yet, or whatever, or maybe there will be needs that were not as big as were forecast when the needs assessment was done. So you need to be adaptive in this case. Sometimes it's difficult because we think that whatever's written in the paper or in the proposal has to be implemented like that. But no, I mean, we need to be thinking on our feet all the time and critically analyzing what was written in the paper and looking at the realities of today, right? Because the paper was written maybe months ago and things change. So you need to be always measuring what are my needs today? Have they changed since the proposal was written? What is my capacity today? Has that changed? Yeah. Do I need more capacity? Have I got less capacity? What is the situation in terms of my capacity to meet needs and my capacity to resolve problems? So I hope that helps you think of capacity in a different way. Obviously, I'm just brushing over it here and I will need to give you more help if you need it to do these analysis. But basically, it's about asking yourself questions, and asking your team questions. And this isn't a job just for the program manager to do in their office. This needs to be done with all of the program team in the same room, right up from the most hands-on person possible, because they often will see problems and solutions that a program manager will not see, particularly if it's a very big program and there's a lot of distance between the program manager and the last hands-on person, right? So everybody needs to be involved. And as a program manager, you will need to also consult support departments, because support departments are often running around kind of like in a rush about everything and trying to meet everybody's demands rather than needs. And it's the project coordinator's job, obviously, to align these things, but they don't always know how to do that. So speaking to the administration department person's head and the logistics person and the other pieces that make up support to programs about their capacity without sounding accusing or judgmental, but doing an analysis together, right, where you explain what you need and they kind of feel that they can be honest about their real capacity and their competing priorities. This will make much more sense, right? And sometimes we fall into the trap of having these. I mean, in every NGO I've been in, there's kind of these weekly meetings on the field where all the program managers sit down and the logistics person sits down and the admin, and there's a kind of a discussion about the coming week, allocation of cars or discussion of problems or whatever. But there's no real capacity analysis done from a more longer perspective. And these are what I'm talking about is more than just like a photo of the situation. Oh, we've got these problems, we've got this problem. No, it's a more deep analysis that once you get into the practice of doing it will become like second nature to you and your teams, because it's important that it's everybody that does it. Anyway, I hope this helps, and more on this later.